How much will a 3,000 point army cost?
Spiky bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and in this video, I wanted to talk a bit about what it will cost to build a 3,000 point army for Legions Imperialis, and just kind of a little bit about the overall release, because I think there's been a bit back and forth between different groups of folks out there, hobbyists and stores and folks that print miniatures. And this has been a really interesting release by Games Workshop. And I think at the end of the day, watching how this unfolds and how it actually happens and who actually plays this game will be really interesting to see, because this might be the template of one of the most 3D printed games from Games Workshop we ever see. And I'm really interested to see how this all goes down, and when you actually get eyes, whether you play or not, on the game for the first time, whether they're plastic miniatures or 3D printed ones. So we wrote a post on the site about the starter box value, and just like all things Games Workshop, when it comes to starter boxes and things, they are generally worth picking up if you're genuinely interested in playing that particular game. We've seen it with all the army boxes. You know, you get a unit in there free, you get the book basically early. This hasn't been the case as of late because Games Workshop is so delayed on pushing things out the door. So the rulebook in this instance is a direct order only from Games Workshop's website. So if you're really interested in playing Epic, I definitely recommend picking up the starter for sure. Here you can see the actual contents as previewed at Warhammer Fest, I believe, the not Warhammer preview. So I think that was one of the ones in summer, like June or July, something like that. So here you can actually see what comes in the starter. And the reason I say what actually comes in the starter is because there was a bit of snafu on the initial teaser for the pre-order that 4 Kratos tanks came in it, which I'll show you here in a minute. So here's what actually comes in here. And what this ended up being was basically all of this right here is one unit, and then all of the Solar Auxilia are one unit. And then you get the Warhound Titans that come with the new weaponry. This isn't what we saw in Titanicus. 3 Predators, 2 Sicarans, you got 2 Malkador tanks, and 4 Leman Russes, which, if you multiply this by 2 for each one, that is probably what the squad boxes are going to be, based on what we can see right down here. So Games Workshop actually was very careful to say what comes in a kit for basically everything that isn't the starter box until the actual teaser dropped, right? So from that we can kind of extrapolate, because they all, now we know they're $50 each, at least in the States, right? So we know that the big tanks here, you're going to get 4. These Leman Russ chassis, you're going to get 8, which probably means you're going to get 8 Leman Russes, which is why I kind of set up here that's a 4-banger, right? And then you've got 8 Rhinos, but when it comes to Predators, you're probably going to get 6 based on what we've seen too. 4 drop pods, which seem to be in a lot of lists, which we're going to take a look at here in a second. And then this fast attack box comes with 8 of the various speeders, the Javelin and the OG Mark 1 speeders. And then you've got the infantry box, which is I think 26 different bases, and they said these are going to be on 25 mils. Then you've got the support for the Auxilia. Then you've got another support here for the Astartes, which is a bunch of dreadnoughts and Derrideos and weapon platforms. Then you got the 2 dire wolves that are going to come out in plastic. Now, comparing those prices to Aeronautical, we got this box here, which was pretty reasonable at $42 for these. And then you kind of get into the value of the box set, which we break down here, and it looks like it's going to be right around $135 value in it for the US, and $200, it's $120 Great Britain pounds over in the UK. It also comes with the rulebook and the templates and the quick reference cards and things too, right? So that's cool. All right, well, it's comparable. I think Titanicus came out and was like $140 or $160 at the time. It was 2018. I don't remember, and I haven't looked that up. So what is this actually gonna cost to build a 3,000 point army? Well, first, let's look at the rollout of this game, right? Originally, the game was supposed to come out in August of 2023, but that didn't quite happen. That would be 5 years exactly to the release of Titanicus, which, you know, kind of makes sense in the natural progression of things. I know some folks might be butthurt that this kind of took over, or that it's not full on 40K and it's set in the Horus Heresy era. But there was a delay, and there's been lots of conjecture as to why, but that's neither here nor there. But that kind of set things up a bit because people wanted this game still, and people were fanatical for this game. And there's already plenty of 3D files out there to get to print. This is basically quarter scale of Warhammer 40K. So when it comes to things like a Warlord Titan, you can actually stack 4 of your Warlord Titans on top of each other, and they will actually equal the same height as the Warlord Titan. I have done it. It is true. There is a Warlord Titan right there. It's pretty crazy how it is actually precisely 1/4 scale to the game. And they showed the pictures of the little guys next to a Horus Heresy Marine, and 4 of them stacked on top of each other also equaled the exact height of the game. So it's very easy to get to scale. And if you have 1-for-1 Games Workshop files, it's not very hard to print them, to scale them to the right size and print them out, and poof, suddenly you have your own tiny legions to play with. So when you mix in a big delay of basically 4 months at this point, with the initial pre-order teaser that went out on Sunday, the 13th, I believe, of November, saying that there would be these extra tanks right here. These are 4 Kratos tanks that aren't actually part of this, and Games Workshop has said that, made it public record, and I'll show you here in a second. They said they were going to clean up this image, and if you go and look at this post on Warhammer Community, it's already been cleaned up, right? So the Kratoses are out of here because that would have added a lot more value to it. They made their initial Warhammer teaser video private because I guess they couldn't re-edit it because it's already on YouTube. So there's that. So you've already got, this is kind of making a recipe for really taking gamers that are very anxious and wanting and looking very much forward to this, delaying it, and then messing up the release in it already in kind of a spectacular fashion. Now we haven't, when I'm recording this right now, we haven't heard if there's going to be allocations from stores, because remember, Games Workshop's doing that crazy thing where they play Mother May I and they get the numbers that game stores want, and then they may or may not give them back that amount of product that they actually want to sell to their customers. So real quick, this is a little bit of what I was talking about. Games Workshop said that when the teaser goes out, they will tell stores, they will give stores the pricing, and they will say, hey stores, how many of these things do you want? You got to tell us by Tuesday. And then when they hear back on Tuesday, after they get on the phone in 2023 and they call up stores and they're like, hey, how much of this do you want? And they're like, this many. And then they're like, okay, cool. Or they're like, nope, we got this many for you. Right? In 2023, you have to get on the phone with a sales rep and place your order instead of doing it online or just through a portal or something like that, which is already a little crazy. Because imagine you're a game store owner. Imagine you have a bunch of different lines of stuff, and one of your distributors insists on having to get on the phone with you every week to go over your want numbers and how many they can actually give you. I'm not making this up. This is real. This is how stores have to order Games Workshop in new releases in America right now in 2023. Real news. And then one of my favorite social media posts here came from the Outer Circle, where they called attention to it. They're like, hey, Warhammer 40K, or I guess they're editorializing this. It doesn't look like that is quite what happened here. But they brought light to the fact that GW was asked if those 4 Kratos boxes came in here, and then GW's like, nah, our bad. We're gonna edit that soon, but those don't come in here. But let's be real, like, where is the proofing? Where is the copywriting? Where is the oversight to this? And I think this is one of the biggest complaints that folks have, whether it is from a product release, and don't even bring up Cursity in certain circles, right? Or whether it's the rules themselves for games like Warhammer 40K, there just never seems to be enough actual people overlooking these things to make sure the product is 100% refined and ready to go out the door. If hobbyists are paying a premium price, they should be getting a premium product. Now that we have set the stage for all of that, where the pros, the cons, where the hearts and minds of Legions Imperialis players might be, let's break it down and talk about how much it will actually cost to play this game. We found some pictures of the White Dwarf battle report for Legion Imperialis that was like, hey guys, it's out. Well, it wasn't quite out yet, but they had a couple of army lists in there. And from that, in the last article we did, where we basically summarized all of the contents of each of the boxes as Games Workshop said, and then kind of were able to make some inferences as to what the rest of the boxes may actually have based on the preview from Games Workshop themselves for the pre-order. I'm pretty sure that we've got this dialed in relatively close. Now, we're never 100%, but we can get you close and get you an idea. We did an article on how much it would cost to play, or how much it costs to play Warhammer 40K or even Sigmar on average. I mean, we looked at a couple of big armies, a couple of small armies, and that was a year ago, and it was roughly $800. So knowing what we know about that, what do you think it'll cost to play in Legion Imperialis? We know the starter's $200, so will it cost you another, that's $200, another 400 all day, 600? Will it be more like 40K, or could it be more than that? Could it be over Warhammer 40K? What do you think? Well, we're not going to get quite to that right this second, but you could always scroll ahead and find out for yourselves. But let's talk about this army list here. So this was one of the lists, and immediately you can tell, or if you played 40K, you already know that drop pods cost money. So whether they're small or whether they're big, having that many drop pods in the list is definitely going to add to the cost of the list, regardless of how inexpensive or how expensive it might actually be to play the game. Now, this adds a lot of tanks here, and we know that the Kratos are $50, and you know, we hadn't quite seen a lot of this yet. Some of the stuff in here, we hadn't seen the bikes and the speeders and such, but and we can make an inference on the Fire Raptors based on the pricing for the Forge World models that have been teased from Aeronautica Imperialis already, and their pricing. So we went over it in this article, which, you know, of course we'll have linked here, but basically at the end of the day right here, you're looking at over $1,000 or more with the rulebook added in to make this army. Now, granted, that is an estimate, but I feel like we are very close based on what we know and what we can infer at this point. And then the trader list here, which has a lot of bigger units and things that use the whole components of a box set for the most part. And this actually uses some of the, I think some of the Solar Auxiliary too. This one was a little cheaper, and this one ended up being about $800, I think. A little bit more with the rule book, which may or may not be what your guess was when I started this video. I think one of the things that makes the Warhammer hobby as exciting as it is because everybody has their thing. They have their chapter, they have their faction, they have their I like big monsters, I like titans, I like this, I like that, I like this game system. And I can tell you that everybody's gonna get into what they like. So don't let anybody tell you how to hobby or tell you that this game might be too expensive or not expensive enough or not flexible enough, because we don't know that at this point right yet. I think overall this is going to be a very interesting product offering from Games Workshop, because a lot of stores I have talked to are already hard passing on it, or we're just confused by the offering in general. And I think other stores, while they might have some interest, I don't think players quite know or understand how much it will cost to play the full standard game that this is being written for, right? And me, as a Titanicus player that couldn't find hardly anybody to play Titanicus with me when it came out, and it was way less of a cost to build an army then, I think if I was to get into Epic in the same, or Legion Imperialis in the same area, I would have a harder time finding folks to play that than I would trying to get people to play Titanicus. So I'm already behind the 8 ball. I know I'm not going to get into it, and just because of that reason and the fact that I personally don't have that much faith in Games Workshop putting out a clear, refined, good product at the end of the day, especially when they had to delay release, allegedly because of the rulebook needed to be rewritten and re-put into the box sets, but there's no way to know that for sure. So me as a consumer, I'm going to pass on this because I'm having fun playing other stuff, but don't let me, or don't let my video tell you to do something else. Don't let somebody at your local game store tell you not to play this game, because I think what we're all going to end up seeing and this is maybe perhaps a bold prediction, is that we're gonna find a lot of people that are gonna buy the plastics. And I think everybody's gonna buy the starter. The starter is a good value. But I think overall, we're gonna see a lot of folks 3D printing this. And I think we're gonna see even more folks 3D printing this and playing it than we did in the past for any game system from Games Workshop, simply because it's easier, they're way smaller, right? But also because Games Workshop has this uncanny knack to run out of stock of the things that you need the most for either a new army faction release or for a new game system release. And I think that track record is going to dictate the path that this game takes. And in 5 years from now, you know, I hope I can jump on here in 2028, and I hope I can be like, yo, it's been 10 years since Titanicus came out. I actually played a game or two, you know, in the last 10 years or 5 years since I made this video. And I hope Legion Imperialis is still doing well. And I hope it isn't got morphed into another game unless it gets better, unless there's a natural progression that will bring on more people, perhaps say morph it to 40K, to get more people into the game and get them actually playing. So from here, you know, drop it in the comments. I'm interested to see what you think. Do you think you're gonna see a lot of people 3D printing this? Are you down to buy the starter? Are you down to spend the grand or whatever on it? Or maybe you're gonna spend more. You're like, yo, I'm ready for this. I'm gonna buy all the things twice. I want it all. And there's plenty coming, because we know there's a lot of stuff that we haven't even been previewed it yet. So hopefully it kind of takes that staggered or release wave path to market. Let me know what you're thinking, because I love talking to hobbyists, and I love talking to game store owners all the time. Every day I'm on Messenger talking to somebody all over the world, just checking in and listening to what's happening there. And I love being entrenched in the hobby and giving advice to people and doing all these valuations and breakdowns and things. But the one thing I love the most is hearing your comments about new games and how you're going to play them, because at the end of the day, that's what matters most, is not how we're supposed to play the game or how we're being told to play the game, but how we actually end up playing the games and enjoying ourselves, because that's what's most important to me. So thank you very much for watching our article to video feature on the army costs for Legion Imperialis, and a little bit of a, I guess, open discussion on maybe how to hobby, and also a little bit about the whole history behind the reveal and the path to market for this Legions Imperialis game here. So I super appreciate it. Be sure to turn on notifications and hit that subscribe button so you can be the first to comment on all our future videos here.